95 of Bolts. Here comes the caution.
Flag is dropped here at Daytona, and away we go for the first time. Nicholas Morcel, Sean.
Looks like most get through unscathed. Look at that, there's Reed Gibson. A big move at the inside line of Dom's, possibly a little bit of contact.
Now, as we've got three wide action going through turns 1 and 2.
And they're underway. Eric Hahn takes a nice jump. Wilson hasn't let him go very far.
Go out here for Circuit Spa Francorchamps. Alex Johnson's off to a brilliant start there.
Just how oddly shaped this one is. We saw in the background Eric Hahn go for a bit of a swing, and he's gone and he's over.
New stuff. Cody Graham's the one-on-one up into second place. Alex Johnson 6/10 to lead at the moment.
Dicey up front. There's Andrew Kessel, Justin Sang.
They are ready to go. The lights are out, and away we go for the very first time here at Okayama International Circuit. Finley Fitzsimmons. Good evening, race fans, and welcome to the very, very first round of the 5th season of the Just Two Idiots Cup Series. And my name is Mason Heimbaugh with Team Goon Squad here today at Donington Park Racing Circuit, bringing you the action here today, 1080p, 60 frames a second, as we always do. And folks, it is an exciting day to be here today. The very first time that Team Goon Squad is going to be covering the action here with J2I, and it is a great, great day to be here, as frankly, what I'm seeing out on track right now just makes me very, very happy to see. The Radical SR8 here at Donington Park for the very first race of this season, and I gotta say, folks, how they do things here at J2I is rather unique. Having well, let's go ahead and show you right now what drivers are putting down for times as they make their way around the track here and get themselves the first time laps underway here. And I think the first driver that's going to do that here will be the 10 of Beaver. And that is another topic that we will get to here very, very shortly. But J2I here runs a series that kind of does 2 for 1, having both a sprint series as well as a mini endurance series. So this week we will see the Radical SR8 at Donington Park, but that won't be the case for next week as we head into the next event. Excuse me as I have to find my schedule here. So, heading next week to Monza, where we will have the very first Grand Prix, or rather the endurance segment of this series, where they have both, I believe, the LMP2 as well as GT3. I may be incorrect on that. I have to double check that. But in the meantime, drivers still making their way around the track for the first time, and I'm wondering here if our timing in there. Okay, I'm just making sure that we are still getting timing and scoring here. That was making me nervous there for a second. But Bob Wallace in the 666 machine going to come in with a 101.168 as his best time here today. And frankly, folks, I wish I could give you a little bit more information about these drivers' history or things that they have done in the past, but they haven't been around iRacing all that long. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later, as well as the as time goes on here. But drivers do have about 15 minutes of open qualifying here, so that is why we see quite a busy racetrack at the moment, as drivers all scrambling to put in a qualifying time here and be the one at the top of the starting grid. Now, going into the start of today's race, for everyone that is new to this series, everyone that is just now tuning in and is wondering, well, how does this work? So, we are going to have essentially 2 races, if you will, to kick off today's events. The first one being the actual sprint race in of itself, which will be a 20-minute race. That will kind of set the field going into the next race, but not in the way that you think, as we will have an inverted top 8 going into our feature race, which will be a 40-minute race. So 60 minutes in total, an hour behind the wheel for these drivers with a 10-minute break in between. So there is going to be a lot of action here tonight. And again, as I mentioned, it is in one of my personal favorite cars on the iRacing service, the Radical SR8. These cars drive absolutely phenomenally well. They just handle so incredibly well. They turn, I can just go on and on talking about this car. And frankly, while we have a little bit of time here, let's go ahead and ride on board here with our fellow driver, Bob Wallace, in the 666 machine, who's currently sitting at the top, was sitting at the top of the poll here, as Squilliam coming in with a 1:0339 as his best time here today. Very, very good work here, beating out Lieutenant Dan by just about a 1/10 of a second here, just a little more than that actually, it seems like, and very, very good work here. Those tenths is really what it comes down to on a track like this, and what I'm really impressed by is just how close a lot of these drivers are showing currently here in qualifying with a busy racetrack that we're currently seeing. Sometimes that can not always be the case here, but it's great to see drivers all handling their own very well and showing rather consistent times here across the board. Trailing off a little bit towards the bottom end of the timing tower, but for the most part, everyone doing a phenomenal job here, and Bob Wallace trying to keep everything going smoothly here as he comes across the line here once again, and unfortunately not going to get a better time this time around. And Beaver, the number 10 machine, is going to be the driver up on the top of the timing board now with a 1:02:03 as his best time here today. So, and for those of you tuning in and maybe wondering, and Sam Renner correcting me here, it's LMDH and GT3 for the Endurance Series. I knew I had something wrong there. I knew I was off there, but it is the new LMDH, the BMW, I think it's M8, V8, something like that. It is a hybrid LMP car. It is just absolutely incredible what that thing can do. I had the privilege of broadcasting it for the first time on the Team Goon Squad channel for our in-house endurance series, and it was great to see that car on track with my own eyes. But it is great to see also for the very first time on the Team Goon Squad channel a Radical SR8 series, and not only that, but a hybrid series, a mixture of 2-in-1. It is a really refreshing thing to see, to be honest. It's something that we don't get to see in the real world, and something that we get to experience here in the virtual world here, as I believe that is Squilliam. No, that is not Squilliam. Who else was Eat My Dust, I believe is the name here. Okay, we've got quite a few drivers getting themselves a little off track here and there, but that is neither here nor there. Every driver trying to take advantage of every bit of racetrack as they can. But back to what I was about to mention here is the drivers' names. Most of you who may be accustomed, who maybe tune into the Team Goon Squad channel a little more often, may be used to seeing drivers' full names there on the timing tower. But here with J2I, they do things a little bit differently. They decided to use their, well, online names, their Discord names, whatever the case might be. They decided that that would be what they would do for their races, and I think it's something. I think it's cool. I think it's unique, and not a lot of people do that. So I think again, refreshing. And eat my dust here, right hot on the heels. Trying to, oh boy, getting a little bit off track here. And I believe that's DC5R, the number 3 machine, currently 6th place on the timing tower with a 1 minute .59 as his best time here, getting a little bit off track, but keeping himself together here. And so, again, just looking at the timing tower right now, it is absolutely incredible to see just how close this field is here in qualifying. Now, whether or not that's going to persist going into the sprint or even the feature race here tonight remains to be seen. Again, this is the first time that we are getting the honor to broadcast these races here for J2Y, and I'm excited to see what these guys have to offer and what kind of racing we're going to experience here today. And from what I've understood here, and for those of you that might be wondering, why the Radical SR8s? Why choose these cars? And, well, I have an answer for you. The admins here with J2Y, they all had a vote with one another, and they all had different cars that they voted against, and this one came out on top after testing multiple different cars, multiple different races, test races, if you will, with various different cars, and this is the one that came out on top. And I gotta say, I am very glad to see that this is a car that has made it here into the Sprint Series. Really, really great to see. Not a car that is used as often as I personally would like to see it used on the iRacing service, but here we are. We get to see it with our very own eyes, and I am all for it. So, everyone tuning in, everyone watching at home, thank you all for tuning in for the very first show, for the very first round of the J2ICS Sprint Series. It is great to have you all here, and I am very, very excited to bring you all the action here today. It is going to be quite the race here today, and I think we are going to have quite a bit to keep an eye out for here today, as it's going to be quite a busy racetrack, as I've already alluded to. And Beaver with a very, very impressive 59.996, just under a minute. Ray Aguilar, oh buddy, it has been a while. Antonio Bianchi as well. Folks coming over from League Zero, great to have you guys over here as well. Thank you guys for joining the show here tonight and tuning in and watching. Great to have you all here. Great to have the support. But as I was mentioning here, Beaver just absolutely crushing qualifying here today with a 59.996, just under a full minute here. And while it's literally just under a minute here, it's going to be a hard one to beat, I think, for a lot of these drivers here. And Beaver's currently in the pits at the moment, and I don't think he's gonna have any worry about coming back out at the moment. Drivers do have an unlimited amount of laps to work with here for qualifying, so they don't necessarily have time. Well, they do have time working against them, but they, oh boy, I think Bar South just had a little bit of a moment here. Let's see if I can lock eye. Nope, I think he took it down into pit road there. I'm going to have to be careful with saying he and, yeah, using pronouns. That's going to be tricky. If I end up saying he and you're a she, I'm very sorry. Oh, boy. Contact on the racetrack between the 39 and the number 3 machine, the DC5R, and Lamp. Wow. Okay. And we also have Book as well. I love these names. I'm gonna have so much fun with this. This is great. Okay. So back to what I was talking about here, folks. Getting sidetracked with all the fantastic names that we have here tonight, but what's most important is what this race is shaping up to be right now, and what the sprint race is going to mean really for this race. Already I touched on it a little bit towards the beginning of the broadcast, but I would like to kind of explain it a little bit more as to kind of inform everyone, let them know. So for this sprint race, it's really kind of going to be your, if you want to consider it qualifying for the feature race. While we are qualifying right now for the sprint race, this sprint race will define the grid going into the feature. But again, we will have the inverted top 8, so drivers in that top 8 will experience a little bit of a shift going into that feature race. So you kind of have to plan for that as a driver, or you necessarily can't even plan for it. You have to ultimately just hope and pray that you end up in a decent spot, and, well, also considering points as well. The number 75 machine of Bar South 22 getting off track here just a little bit, trying to get the car restarted and going here once again, and successfully does so without getting in the way of anyone else here as well. Just keeping an eye out for traffic. Another thing that you want to do as well, even though it is a simulator and even though these aren't real cars, you definitely still want to mind other race car drivers. You want to mind other people out on the track. You don't want to just put yourself in a situation where you're running into someone who's on a hot lap and trying to do the best that they can, and you just ruin their day. I can definitely attest that I have been that guy at least once, and I felt bad and have since avoided that situation as much as possible. But everyone has to learn in some way or another. But great to see that so far everyone here showing a lot of good sportsmanship, a lot of really great racecraft, and a lot of trying to push here, as well as Avo Voom. I believe that was Avo Voom. That might have been someone else here. I think that was actually another driver. Well, that's neither here nor there. As qualifying has wrapped up, the checkered flag has flown, and we are going to go ahead and get ready for the first sprint of the day here today, and go ahead and get into our starting lineup of today. Up in the front row is going to be Beaver and Squilliam. Along in second row, Bob Wallace and AJ. Third row, Lieutenant Dan, I Lost My Legs, and DCR. These names are really going to throw me off, but it's okay. Brosidon and Eat My Dust, going to take fourth row. Urko and Bar South in fifth row. Biker Pilot and Lamp taking the sixth row here today. Moving on down the grid here in the seventh row is Prince Adam and Book. Eighth row is Avo Voom and G-Bay. Ninth row is Paperback and Nicolator. Ninth row is Long Nerd and I Am VCOG. 976 in 21st. Garlic Dog in 22nd. Junior McKin. I don't even. All right. McMurk in 23rd and 24th. Moving on down the grid here in 25th and 26th, rounding out the field. Caudata and Spicoli in 25th and 26th here. All right. That was my very, very, well, new attempt at trying to pronounce some of these guys' names, but, or usernames, but we will, we'll chalk that off as a victory here today. And here we go. The lights are out. And away we go. For the very first time, drivers in the backfield getting a little bit squirrely here towards the rear end. Long Island Nerd, I believe, having some issues here towards the back of the field. But meanwhile, up ahead, Beaver, Squilliam gonna duke it out for that first place spot. A little bit of action happening just behind them. AJ, Eat My Dust, also gonna be side by side here. A little bit of brakes happening here from Beaver. As he locks it up, he's gonna go into the gravel here, try and recover himself and get back into the action. Squilliam now gonna have quite a bit of room to work with now, as the rest of the field all still scrapping for positions behind him. Very, very good work here from the field. Everyone doing a phenomenal job. Oh boy, the 45 machine getting a little bit stopped right in the middle of the racetrack. Oh no, multiple cars getting involved here. I don't know if there's going to be a caution thrown for this one. I don't think there will be. This is going to hurt a lot of drivers here. But only 20 minutes that we have and no caution being flown, so we continue racing here. As we watch right now, Bob Wallace in the 666 machine currently sitting in 6th place right behind Urko, the number 33. Chasing for that 5th place spot here. A little bit in the grass here from Urko. Urko trying to get himself back out onto the track here safely without getting into the racing line. But slowly but surely, the top 3, top 4 you could even kind of consider start to garner more distance between themselves and the rest of the pack here. More intense racing continues on, though, here in the midfield. As Bar South 22 right on the tail of Bob Wallace. Number 75, Purple Machine, doing all that it can to stay as close as possible here to the 666. Gonna see if he can make a move. Not quite able to do so here through turn 1. Here, as we're currently watching 6th place at the moment, if you're looking at the bottom right-hand side at the track map at the moment, so after getting it a little wide, going into turn number 1, Beaver currently holding into 13th at the moment, just behind Urko, who also had a little bit of a moment just a lap or 2 or so go. Now going to be back in 12th place here, so these two are going to have a little bit of a bout trying to work their way back up through the field as drivers continue to find themselves getting off track here a little bit here and there, and drivers are also going to be under a penalty limit here. So after a certain amount of, oh boy, there's quite a bit of damage here to the side of the number 10 of Bieber. I wonder if that's going to have any major effect on his performance here, but so far does not seem to be the case here as he's worked his way around Urko in the number 33. But now that everyone has gotten themselves a little bit of distance between one another, the action has somewhat settled out here. Can't really say the same here for Squilliam and Lieutenant Dan as they start their battle, continuing on. Riding on board with Squilliam here, getting a good inside view of the number 6 machine as we go side by side, nearly side by side, and they make contact with one another. Both sending each other into the grass. Eat My Dust now going to take the lead with DC5R right in 2nd place. And DC5R going to be the teammate of Urko, Eric Fox, with Bong Life Motorsport. And Eat My Dust currently, I believe, is going to be a lone driver here, not driving with a team. I could be incorrect about that, but so far I'm not seeing anything that's telling me otherwise, so I will go with that assumption. So Eat My Dust going for solo points here in the Sprint Series, and so far looking strong after having that little bit of contact between the leaders. Squilliam and Lieutenant Dan, I'm sure, both not going to be too enthralled with that happening, but luckily, Squilliam and Lieutenant Dan both only falling down to the 4th and 5th place spot, so not a huge loss for the two drivers, but still able to keep things moderate here. Taking a look at the gap at the moment between drivers, you can see on the left-hand side of your screen here as well, getting a good look and seeing just how far drivers are from the leader at this moment. And you can see between the top 3 and the top 6, there's about a 2-second gap separating them, and from there things start to get a little bit more sporadic. But relatively speaking, these drivers are all very, very close to one another here, so very good to see, very, very impressive to see here as well. So as we're on lap 7 of number 20 at the moment, again, 20 laps, or excuse me, 20 minutes in total that we will see here for this race, for the sprint. And so far, no cautions being thrown. I'm not sure if iRacing race control is going to take over here at all at any point, but DC5R, very, very good move through the inside of Eat My Dust and able to take the lead here as we move through the chicane. And Eat My Dust having a little bit of trouble here as Bob Wallace now moving up into the second place spot here. The 24 machine trying to do everything that he can. Staying right on the tail of the 666, or at least as close as he can. Lieutenant Dan also trying to get some distance between himself and the number 6 of Squilliam just behind him at the moment, and Squilliam closing distance rapidly here at the moment. And here we can see on the left side of your screen the last time around. Oh boy, things getting dicey here between Squilliam and Lieutenant Dan as Squilliam moves up into 4th place, now riding on the tail of the number 24 of Eat My Dust. Things getting, oh boy. Come on, Lieutenant Dan, you gotta keep it together there, buddy. But very, very good work in all seriousness. Very, very good awareness there from the O machine, avoiding that contact and keeping the racing clean here, and also collecting a position as well as he moves around the 24 of Eat My Dust. So the 24 machine having a little bit of fall off as we approach about the halfway mark here in today's sprint race. And again, I gotta say, it is impressive to see just how close these drivers still are at halfway here in the 20 laps that we're expected to see. And looks like Lamp gonna head off track here. The number 39 machine getting himself a little bit too wide there. But ultimately, no harm, no foul, no damage is done to his machine, so everything is still good to go. Checking in with some drivers in the midfield and a little beyond here as well, just seeing where everyone is, how everyone is faring at the moment, and taking a look here with Biker Pilot in the number 42 machine. So far looking good, giving himself plenty of distance to work with. And while that may not be exactly what he wants at the moment, but it can be ideal when you don't necessarily want to be around a ton of traffic, especially in a series such as J2I and the Cup Series, or specifically the Sprint Series, is that it is a series that is welcome to all drivers. So anyone is welcome to join the series. Anyone is free to come in and try their hand racing with these guys. And ultimately, it is a learning tool. Oh, boy. Little bit much on the curb. And that is one thing that these cars do not like. They do not like curbs. If it is anything that I have learned in my time on the iRacing service or with driving this car specifically, is that it is not nice on curbs. Once you get up on a curb and get that, oh boy, it is not fun. Definitely have been frustrated many, many times with trying to learn the correct line when driving these cars. It is definitely something that can take a bit of time to get used to. It's especially if you're a driver that is used to maybe GT3 or even, well, can't really use rally. That's a whole different breed of its own. But let's say GT3, for example, GT4 in general. Those cars handle just fine going over curbs, but if you take one of these cars and take it over a curb, bad things will happen. It also depends on the curb itself, but Long Island Nerd here, the number 02 machine, getting off track and falling down into 18th place here, costing him a couple spots, as I believe McMurk and Urko both moving their way on by here. Well, we've also got some action developing up here towards, well, the top 10 at the moment. 8th place, G Bay, having Nicolator in the number 5 machine just behind him, closing the gap of about a quarter of a second and only getting closer. Nicolator trying to do everything that he can to get right on the tail here. And let's go ahead and ride on the nose of the number 5 machine and just kind of get a different perspective of a lap here at Donington, and really just a different perspective. Oh boy. G-Bay getting a little wide there on the exit of the final turn out of the chicane. Very good recovery. Oh boy, little contact there. You can see the damage on the rear end of the number 28 machine. Luckily, no harm, no foul, but definitely going to have some incident points involved in that one. And again, drivers only have, I believe it was, I have to go back and look here, 15x. Okay, so 15 points for the sprint. I might be reading this wrong. I believe it's 8 points for the sprint and 15 for the feature. That might be backwards. I blame... Never mind. Anyway. So now, as Nicolator has worked his way around G-Bay successful... Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, buddy. Oh, yeah. That is definitely a you can't park there moment. I'm only kidding, but Caudata, that is a very close call here for the number 14 machine, facing the wrong direction on the track. Let's see if we can get a very quick replay of what just happened here. Let's see just what in the world. Heading into turn 1 and just gets spun right around. Very fortunately, every other driver behind him was able to see him in time, and nothing came else from it. But wow, what a very, very frightening place to be stuck in the middle of turn 1 there, or rather at the bottom of it, if you will. But meanwhile, McMurk 976. Honestly, when I say those two together, it sounds like it's the same name. I'm just adding numbers to it. Okay, this is... So McMurk in the number 27 and 976 in the number 976. Currently having a little bit of a bout here, or we're having a bit of a bout. Not sure what happened. I think I was having, oh, whoa. As we tune into Lamp and Biker Pilot here, having a fight for the 10th place spot. Lamp doing all that he can, doing great work, actually, to keep himself up here in the 10th place spot. The key thing is going to be consistency, and here in a sprint setting, consistency can sometimes be a little difficult at times. When you only have 20 minutes on the timer, the racing just becomes a little bit different, I would say. Oh boy, little off track here for the 42. Or excuse me, for Lamp in the number 39. That's going to allow the 42 of Biker Pilot to move on up here. And that's exactly the kind of thing that you want to look for as a competitor. As soon as they make that little bit of a mistake, that's when you jump in. And Lieutenant Dan, Squilliam, both having another fight here for the third place spot. Squilliam going to have the advantage here as he's on the inside. Oh boy, Lieutenant Dan, great work though. Great work on the track awareness for those two drivers. That is just top tier racing between these two. Oh, Lieutenant Dan pushes just a little too hard though in the triple O machine. That's going to spin him into the grass here, but luckily with plenty of room to work with on the racetrack here, so not anything really to worry about there. Oh, and right as we tune in here to Beaver, the number 10 machine getting involved here with Eat My Dust. Wow. Well, Urko, or Eric, whom I had the pleasure of speaking to before the start of the broadcast, one of the admins, one of the founders here of J2I, he did say that it was going to be a very interesting night, and I think that he has delivered on that promise and then some. This has been a very eventful race, and we're only getting started here. But DC5R currently holding on to the lead here at the moment, with Bob Wallace right hot on the heels of that number 3 machine, as there's a car right in the middle of the racetrack. I don't know who iRacing sent to be the race control here today, but I think he, oh, the number 3 gets sideways and into the gravel, but able to recover into the sand rather. That's not, oh gosh, it only gets worse the longer I look. Unideal situations here for DC5R, who was holding on to the lead and now trying everything in his power to get that car back onto track here in a safe manner. I gotta say, folks, and I don't think I mentioned this yet, but this is my very first time here at Donington Park broadcasting or racing, and I gotta say, I am thoroughly entertained with what I am seeing here today, and I just hope that you folks watching at home are entertained here as well. As the white flag is out, it is the final lap. And we are down to the wire here, as Bar South 22 currently with about a 5-second gap separating himself and the rest of the pack at the moment. He is looking to take home the win here for the sprint. Bob Wallace and Lieutenant Dan in second and third place. Meanwhile, going to have a bit of a fight, and even Nicolator and G-Bay also going to be in the mix here as well in this fight, as they enter into the final few turns onto the straightaway here into the final chicane, or really kind of the only chicane. Barsal 22 comes across the line for the win here today, and trying to take it across the line, a drag race between Bob Wallace, Lieutenant Dan, and Nicolator, but they take it home second, third, and fourth, respectively. a few other battles happening across the line there, but unfortunately not able to get a camera on it quick enough here, so I apologize for that. For any of you drivers or fans that may have wanted to catch that last minute action here, but sometimes things just happen a little bit too quickly, but that is the way that it goes in the racing world. But that is going to be also our conclusion of the sprint race here today. So we're going to go ahead and go through our post-race results here, and this is also going to start our 10 minutes of a break, I believe, for drivers, as well as for potentially the broadcast here. We'll see. We'll see just how things go here. But let's go ahead and run through our post-race results here for the sprint race and talk a little bit about how the field is going to be inverted going into the feature. And let's go ahead and put a little ambiance for you folks watching at home and just make it a little less quiet and not just me talking into your ears. So, Bar South taking home the win here for the sprint race. Going to be up at going to be in 8th place going into the feature race coming up shortly. Bob Wallace taking home 2nd. Lieutenant Dan in 3rd place with Nicolator in 4th. G-Bay in 5th. Beaver taking home 6th place. Eat My Dust in 7th. Biker Pilot in 8th. Lamp taking home 9th. DCR in 10th. Avo Voom in 11th. Paper Bag in 12th. Squilliam in 13th. Urko in 14th. Book in 15th. McMurk in 16th. AJ in 17th. I am VCOG in 18th. And moving ourselves down the lineup. Prince Adam in 19th. 976 in 20th. Long Nerd in 21st. Garlic Dog in 22nd. Paw Data in 23rd. Brosidon in 24th. Junior McKinnon in 25th. And Spicoli in 26th. I do believe that is the end of our lineup here today. So what that means here, once we get into our feature, Biker Pilot will be starting first. Eat My Dust will be in 2nd. Beaver will be in 3rd. G-Bay in 4th. Nicolator in 5th. Lieutenant Dan in 6th. Bob Wallace in 7th. And Bar South will be taking 8th place here for the start of the feature. But in the meantime, folks, we have a little bit of time here before we get things started back up again. And drivers currently are all taking a little bit of time themselves to get recouped and ready for the next start. Taking a little bit of time to clear their heads and also get a few laps in before we get into the next start. So while we have just under 10 minutes left to go here, folks, we're going to go ahead and take a little bit of a break up here in the booth, but we will go ahead and just let you folks at home take in the sights and sounds here at Donington Park and just enjoy. For now, get yourself some snacks, beverages, all the necessities that a race fan needs to enjoy a race. And we will be back in a few minutes. You will see the timer on the left-hand side of your screen, so just make sure you keep an eye on that. And once it gets closer to that 10-minute mark, we will be back for the action here today. But I want to thank you all for tuning in. I want a huge thank you to all who have tuned in so far. Hopefully everyone is enjoying the action. If you are enjoying it, hit the like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. Make sure you tune in to all the action that we have here on Team Goon Squad. It's always appreciated. But for now, everyone, we will be taking a little bit of a break, and we will be back in just a few minutes. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere, because there is more iRacing right here on Team Goon Squad. Alrighty, folks. I hope you all haven't gone anywhere too far as we're about to get the action started up here once again for the J2ICS Sprint Series. As we get ready to kick off our feature race of the night, 40 minutes in total that we will have here at Donington. And I gotta say, after seeing the sprint that we just saw, I am more than excited to see what the feature is going to have as well. As there is checkered flag is flying now for our warm-up here, or for our little bit of a break. And now we get ready for drivers to get down to the starting grid and get themselves ready for the start of the feature. As we go ahead and run through our starting lineup, and I do believe that there will have to be a little bit of a shuffling of the field that happens, but we will go through the order as it is shown. Biker Pilot in Eat My Dust up in the front row. Beaver and G-Bay in the second row. Nicolator and Lieutenant Dan in the third row. Bob Wallace in Bar South taking up the fourth row. Lamp in DCR taking up the fifth row. Avo Voom in Paper Bag in the sixth row. And moving ourselves down the starting grid here, Squilliam and Urko taking up the seventh row. Book and McMurk in the eighth row. AJ and IMV Cog. Well, we're going to be interrupted a little early here as the lights are about to go out, and away we go. Driver spinning out in the back of the field. Looks like only one car that's going to have a rough start here. Junior McKinn is going to be that driver. Biker Pilot off to a very good start here. We're going to have to go ahead and tame that a little bit, tame the sounds of those engines so you folks can hear my voice a little bit better. Oh, driver way off track here. McMurk, I believe, is the one. That is Avo Voom. I stand corrected here, but meanwhile, more battles continuing up towards the front of the track. Some drivers getting pushed off here. Looks like Book is going to be one of them currently off track, and DC5R has a moment here. Not sure if he downshifted there or what the situation was. Definitely seemed like a downshift situation. Urko takes it down into pit road a little early. Avo Voom also going to be down into the pits. And I didn't mention this earlier, but drivers are allocated two fast repairs throughout this race. And for those of you that may not know or are unaware of it, the fast repairs here in the iRacing service essentially allow you to get a fresh race car every time that you come into the pits, or at least as many times as you're allowed to when you come down into the pits. So in this case, if drivers completely total their car and they need a new one, they have two opportunities to use that fast repair. And looking a little bit further back here, we start to see drivers closing in the midfield, getting right on the tail of one another, and this is reminiscent of what we saw in the sprint race just before the feature here. 40 laps that we should see here in total. Bar South 22 right on the tail of Lamp. The number 39 machine looked like he had to back off there. Oh, getting a little off track. For just a second there, able to recover it out of turn 5. But this time around, it seems to be we're seeing the field get a little bit more spread out than we did in the sprint race. We're seeing that separation happen a little bit quicker, a little bit sooner than when we did in that sprint. So I'm wondering if some drivers may be taking a step back here, maybe trying to tone things down a little bit, knowing that they will have to make a pit stop during this segment of the race. So drivers do have to be wary of that. Try and conserve fuel maybe as much as they possibly can here. Looks like AJ, I believe that. No, that is Lamp in the number 39 machine, having a little bit of a moment himself. Biker Pilot, though, our race leader. The number 42 machine gets off track, almost into the wall there. Wouldn't have been a huge contact there, but cars are just zipping by. And he's going to have to find a good opportunity to safely rejoin the track and not cause anything else to happen here to anyone else. But Gipe and Squilliam going to have a little bit of a side-by-side battle here as they have their fight going into the chicane here, the final one, as they come across the checkered line. Squilliam is going to be the driver coming out victorious of that battle here in 6th place. And currently, one of the drivers currently one of the highest movers is what I was trying to say there, as Squilliam up 10 spots from where he started in today's feature. So great work here from Squilliam, but also a big shout out here to Bro Seiden and the number 99 machine, who's also had a very good start to today's race, also moving up 12 spots in the start of today's race. So Bro Seiden currently the biggest mover in Shaker on the grid, but that does not mean there are others just like him trying to move themselves up as many spots as they possibly can. And remember, we do have drivers looking to work their way back up from where they had to start here today, from the start of the sprint in the top 8. A little bit of action happening here as Bob Wallace and Eat My Dust, they go side by side with one another here. We're going to take a ride on board with Nicolator in the number 5 machine. A little nervous as we get onto the grass there for just a moment. Nicolator trying to stay with these guys as much as he can. Just about a half a second between himself and Eat My Dust now at the moment. This time around, it seems to be that a lot of drivers are taking things, again, relatively easy this time around. Not trying to make nearly as many mistakes, trying to keep things relatively smoother than what we saw in the sprint. And well, again, that might be due to the fact that it is a 40-lap feature, as well as the fact that drivers are going to have to come down into the pits. So taking that into consideration, game plans might be changing for some of these drivers. Taking a look from up above, though, just seeing what the field looks like from high in the sky, as we get a good look here of relatively the top, almost the top 10, but really just about the middle of the top 10 here at the moment. And good action happening towards the back here between Bar South and AJ. It's Bar South 22 here in the number 75 machine, right on the tail of AJ here in that gray and green 45. Off track here for Lamp in the number 39 machine. He rejoined successfully. No other drivers around him to really have to worry about. So good work here. Prince Adam able to get around Bro Sidon and hold up the 11th place spot here. Very good work here from Prince Adam as well. So a few different battles happening out on track, and this is one of them with Bob Wallace and Eat My Dust, and we're cycling through as many as we can to cover as much of the action, but frankly, there is quite a lot happening on the field right now. Bar South 22, AJ going to be in a little bit of a fight here as they come through the final chicane and out onto the front straight and across the checkered line as they battle for 8th place here at the moment. Let's go ahead and ride on board here with AJ, and I want to take a look from the helmet camera here, or excuse me, not AJ, the Bar South 22. The number 75 machine, and you can see just all the debris already on the screen, or really on the visor of the number 75 driver's helmet. And let's just go ahead and for old time's sake, let's take a listen in. Oh boy, perfect timing though for AJ, or for Bar South rather, as AJ has a moment and goes around here. But now Bar South is going to have clean air ahead of him to work with. And for the moment, let's go ahead and have a listen to Bar South 22 in a lap around Downington Park. That was a ride on board here with Bar South 75. Great lap there. A little bit loose there at the end on the final turn, but overall a good lap here for Bar South 22 as he continues to try and track down Nicolator in the number 5 machine just ahead of him, about 3.5 seconds at the moment. So still got quite a bit of work ahead of him before he's near that 7th place driver at the moment, but still has time and still has a pit stop to work with here as well. Prince Adam and Bro Sidon going to have a bit of a battle here for 9th place. Bro Sidon up 14 spots from where he started at the beginning of today's race, and it looks like we've got a battle for the lead here as well, with Beaver and Lieutenant Dan both duking it out here. Both drivers going wide through turn 5, but ultimately keeping it together. And Squilliam also going to join in on the fun here as well. Lieutenant Dan a little bit too far off track here. Squilliam going to take advantage of that one. He's going to push up into 2nd place. Lieutenant Dan goes for another attempt here to see if he can recover that spot. Let's see if he's going to be able to do so here through the chicane. Squilliam, good run here. Late break for Squilliam. I think that was definitely the move to make there. Lieutenant Dan, I think, a little early before on the brakes there through the chicane, but Squilliam, very fantastic work through the chicane, able to keep his momentum moving and also, more importantly, retain that second place spot, which he's been fighting so hard for some time. Nicolator, though, gets himself off track right as we tune into him. Was having a bit of a battle, but unfortunately, right as the camera gets to him, we see him riding through the grass and potentially going to have to serve a time penalty here, as that's definitely going to be a cutting the course. Battles all over the track. Sam Renner, yeah, unfortunately that was bad timing. I'm sorry, Chase. That was very bad timing. But anyhow, Brosidon and DC5R continue their fight here for 9th place. Brosidon going to be right up ahead here. DC5 going to try and make a move. Not quite going to be what he wanted that time around, but going to try and set himself up for the next opportunity. Most likely going to be the chicane or the next turn here. I believe it's going to be turn 7. It is indeed. The sharp right-hander onto the short straight, which will be coming up right here. Let's see if he's going to be able to do something. Not quite. There's also Barsal 22 in the grass here. Going to have to get himself back onto the track and sorted back out here, and also suffering quite a bit of damage to that rear wing, and really looks like overall to the car in general not looking the best. Pit crew is going to definitely have some strong feelings about that when that car definitely is driven back into the garage. But I think in the meantime it will still make it across the checkered line regardless, or at least make it back to the pits to hopefully use one of the fast repairs that out of the two that drivers should have here. Hopefully no one has utilized all of them here yet, but unfortunately for myself up here in the booth, I don't have a way to show that, not only to myself or to you viewers at home, so I have no way of knowing if any driver has or has not used one, or any for that matter. So unfortunately we don't have that data, so we'll just kind of have to use our better judgment and assume whether or not a driver has or has not. But lap 17 of 40, I would have to say there's probably been at least one or two drivers that have used it, but I don't think it has been very many. We've seen a lot of drivers getting off track here and there, but frankly, here at Donington, there is plenty of room, plenty of runoff around this track that I don't think collisions are going to be a huge factor. I mean, granted, we did see a lot of collisions in the sprint race, which I'm getting a little bit of PTSD just thinking about it, but or really just like Vietnam flashbacks, if you will. But anyway, AJ and Paperbag gonna have a fight here for the 9th place spot, and so far Paperbag gonna be the one on top of it here in the 420 machine. Let's see just who exactly is going to come out victorious in this battle, as right now it seems to be Paperbag is the one on top of things, but AJ doing very good work staying consistent on the same line. Let's see how he does in the brake zone here a little bit later. Very good work here from AJ, able to extend the braking, or shorten the braking zone rather, by a few feet. Almost seemed by at least 5 to 10 feet. It seemed like there for AJ. Very good work there for the 45 driver. Paper Bag a little off track there. That's going to allow AJ to capitalize just a little bit. Get right almost underneath the rear end of that 420 machine. Here we go into the right-hander and into turn, or excuse me, it is the right-hander into turn 5, and unfortunately 420 Paper Bag goes off track and falls down a position, allowing AJ to take that in 8th place spot. But now Paper Bag under quite a bit of traffic here as he's got Lieutenant Dan, Long Island Nerd, also around him. Long Island Nerd locks up a little bit there. And I believe is going to allow his teammate, Biker Pilot, on by here, the number 42 machine. These two drivers going to be with Team Rookie Mistake. Oh, I love it. Okay. But drivers that we haven't talked about here in a while is the drivers up in the lead at the moment in Beaver and Squilliam, continuing to duke it out for this first place spot, and Squilliam right all over the rear end of that deep red number 10 machine, almost kind of like a Ferrari red, if you will. It's actually kind of a nice color. I kind of like that. But aside from the color of a virtual car, the racing is absolutely phenomenal. Excuse anyone that may or may not have heard that. That was my events notifier. Well, really just a tablet that has all of the events happening in front of me, so I can read that off in a timely fashion. But either way, Beaver and Squilliam have been duking it out for this first place spot, I want to say for nearly the entirety of this race, if not the entirety of this race. And it has been phenomenal to witness. But now as things start to settle out here, and as we start to, I would assume, start to expect to see drivers make their way down into pit road before too long. And actually, right as I say that, right as I look away to turn down the audio, Beaver comes down into pit road, and he's going to take fuel, tires, everything that a race car driver needs to be successful. And meanwhile, AJ and Lamp continue their battle out on track for the 6th place spot. Other battles happening for 10th place and 14th here as well. Beaver going to be out of pit road here, as we can see, as AJ and Lamp make their way through turn 1. So Beaver now going to be the driver out on track with the freshest set of tires, as other drivers in the midfield and beyond have made their stops already a little bit earlier. A few other drivers making their stops here as well. Teammates Biker Pilot and Long Island Nerd, both seemingly going to be in the same stall here as well. Not sure how that worked out. I was going to say how race control allowed that, but there seems to be no race control here today. So that's always a fun thing. But jokes aside. Close battle here with Bro Sidon and DC5. Number 99 machine gonna be at a... Ooh, it was close. It was gonna be a close one with those two, but Bro Sidon definitely had the advantage on the outside there with DC5. Still had an opportunity to pinch him a little bit, but staying respectful, not trying to push him off the racing line, but still trying to put the pressure there. Still let him know that he was going to be there and still fighting. Through the chicane here, DC5 going to try and close the gap here just by a little bit, and really the important thing is trying to close that braking zone as much as you can. There's obviously going to be a limit, and that braking zone is going to increase over time as your tires degrade. So you're not going to be able to stop the same distance every single lap. You're going to have to adapt it as your tires wear. Otherwise, you're going to end up just locking your brakes up and sliding, and it's not a great situation, not a fun situation. And these cars can be rather unforgiving in that manner. Once the tires fade, it can be tricky, to say the least, to keep these cars in a straight line. But these drivers are all absolutely phenomenal here in doing a fantastic job. So we're taking a look now with Urko, the number 33 driver, as he's just behind Barsal 22 and a lapped driver who I can't get the number of at the moment. Barsal 22, little wide there, little bit too much of the gas pedal. Goes off track here once more. Oh boy. Broseiden almost getting into the side of DC5, keeping the contact, avoiding the contact, fortunately, but more drivers also making their way through pit road as well in the meantime. Broseiden and DC5 continue their battles here, and Broseiden gonna have a few lap newer tires than DC5, but it really won't matter too much here as oh boy, that crucial mistake is gonna cost Broseiden here, as now DC5 gonna be on the inside going through 4 and 5. This is going to allow DC5 to take that 9th place spot, or excuse me, 8th place spot, as well as move up, or try and at least build some distance between the two. And speaking of distance, Eat My Dust, who currently has a driver all over him, a lap driver at that, currently has roughly about 12.5 seconds between himself and second place, but that, granted, that is only due to the fact, or maybe not. Well, no, actually, I believe it is due to the fact that a lot of the field has gone through the pits, and fortunately for Eat My Dust, he's been able to stay in first and have quite a significant gap to work with here. And it looks like, never mind, that was the driver making a pit stop here. I am VCOG coming down into pit road here along with Garlic Dog and the 199 machine. Both drivers coming down to get a fresh set of tires as well as fill up on fuel and get ready for their next stint out on track here. So once we see Eat My Dust and Nicolator make their way into pit road, Squilliam will take the lead, and Beaver will be second place with Lieutenant Dan in third. And this, oh boy. A little bit too high on the curb there for Eat My Dust, but able to work his way into pit road successfully. But Squilliam now taking the lead. Beaver in second place, and just about a second and a half behind our leader at the moment. Going to have quite a bit of work ahead of him in order to close that distance and be able to have a little bit of competition here for the lead. But I do, if I'm not mistaken, these are the only pit stops that we will have for the race, so we will see these drivers take it to the checkered flag on these tires and on their current set of fuel. So some drivers may be, well, I do know that drivers are racing on a fixed setup. And again, for those of you who are watching who may not be familiar with what a fixed setup is, in the iRacing service, you can either have a car that is set up a certain way and everyone races that same car, or you can have open setups which allow drivers to make changes to the car to better suit their racing style, so on and so forth. But here with J2I, it is a fixed setup, so everyone is racing on the same, with the same car, relatively speaking. Beat my dust here, the number 24 machine, getting all kinds of out of shape here. Trying to recollect himself, and I believe successfully does so. Oh, we've got a car stopped right off track there as well. I believe that was Caudata. Urko gonna make his way into the pits here. The number 33 machine a second time here for Eric. I wonder if there was an issue with the car, or if he's serving a penalty of some kind. Oh boy. Chaos ensues out on track here. Oh boy. AJ, the number 45 machine, goes off track, gets into a spin. Now, I could be wrong about this, and it has been a while since I've driven this car and on the service, but I believe what's happening for a lot of these drivers, or at least in theory, what I think is happening for some of these drivers is going through these turns with this car, downshifting can be a little tricky. Okay. Downshifting can be a little tricky, as when you start to turn the car and you want to downshift, if you're going high speeds, it can unsettle the center of gravity on the car and really just kind of make things all sorts of wonky. It may just also be me, but anytime that I have tried to, well, downshift while going through a turn, things just go a little funny if I'm going at a significant speed. At least that's what I found in my experience in the past. And again, it has been a while, so maybe it's just me. But looks like we've got action towards the front of the field, though, as Squilliam having some trouble here in the number 6 machine. That allows Beaver to take the lead, as we've got lap traffic involved here, and this might be part of the reason that we've got this bit of chaos happening, as now we see Long Island Nerd go off track in the 02 machine. And that's going to give some separation between Beaver and Squilliam here for that lead spot. Beaver now going to have about a second and a half to work with. Just under 10 laps left to go before we see the checkered flag fly. Oh boy, eat my dust. Not sure what happened there. Let's take a ride on board here with Bro Sidon in the number 99 machine. Taking a look at Book in the 560 machine, just behind Bro Sidon that we were just looking at here, but getting a different chasing perspective that we can appreciate here But I will say for this being my first time at Donington Park, as well as my first time broadcasting a race with the Radical SR8 as the car on track, I gotta say I feel like a kid in the candy store. It is a good day to be a broadcaster. Frankly, I wish it was the real life thing, but you know what? This will have to do, and I hope that everyone watching has been enjoying the actions here tonight, and I hope that everyone looks forward to the rest of the season and to the rest of what J2I and we at Team Goon Squad have to offer for the rest of this season. I am very much looking forward to it, as this was a very good way to kick off the start of this season. Round number 1 proving to be quite the doozy here, as Brosidon, the number 99 machine, goes off track here once more, getting a heavy collision into the side. Big damage here to the 99. I'm sure that thing is not going to drive right after that one. There we see the teammate Bob Wallace, the 666 machine, going to make his way on by, going to observe the damage here as well and say, bro, you need to go into pit road. Luckily, everything is calm out on track at the moment for our field. No drivers really having any battles at the moment. There is one battle, however, happening here for 20th, all the way down here with Garlic Dog in 976. And as I say that, never mind. That was a driver going off track here. But Garlic Dog going to be right on the tail of 976. And here through the final chicane, let's see. Very early on the brakes here for Garlic Dog. I didn't quite see where 976 was. As we enter the final 5 laps of the race here today, and drivers all having in the top 10, or at least in the top 5, over 5 seconds, or at least 4 seconds of time between each other. The exception here being Nicolator and Bob Wallace having a small, very distant battle at the moment, just under a second between these two here at the moment. But that is the closest drivers that we have for position at the moment. And with only 4 laps left to go, I can't imagine that we're going to see anyone close that distance quickly anytime soon. And if we do, it'll most likely be the result of someone making mistakes here. And out of the drivers out here in the top 5, even the top 10 almost, not a whole lot of errors have been made here. A few here and there, but for the most part, everyone has done a very good job here today. Biker Pilot, the number 42 machine, with Team Rookie Mistake going to be right on the tail of Lamp, the number 39, here in the final few laps of today's race, and going to see if he can get a position here. And it looks like they're going to be closing in on, or I think that might be a lap driver here, with severe damage to their race car. It almost doesn't even resemble a race car anymore, but they're still driving it, so it must still work in some shape or another. That is, wow. But a side-by-side battle here between Biker Pilot and Lamp. Lamp going to be on the inside in turn number 1. And they make contact as they come out of the exit off the crest. And here through 2 and 3. Through the hairpin. Lamp currently ahead of the battle in that 7th place spot. Biker Pilot going to try and recover it. Let's see if he can pull it back into the chicane here once they make their way through this right-hander onto the straightaway. Lamp doing very, very good here, and it looks like potentially a lap driver here. When white flag is being shown here, at least we've seen the flag man waving it, so the white flag is, I believe, out here at Donington Park for the very first round of the J2ICS Sprint Series. And Beaver with an astonishing 4.5 second gap between himself and second place. I don't think he's going to have much trouble bringing it home for the win here today. Looks to be we're going to have a last-minute battle here for the final lap here, as well as now the white flag is flown here. The flagman throwing things a little bit earlier here than anticipated, but that's A-okay here. We've still got action out here on the track as Book, the 560 machine, makes his way around Long Island Nerd for the 12th place spot. Checkered flag, here we go, and across the line, Book takes it home for 12th. Long Island Nerd in 13th. And there is a driver celebrating in a very unique fashion just behind them. But that is going to wrap up the feature race here today. And Lieutenant Dan gonna give our leader, our winner, an escort here around the track. As we're gonna go ahead and take a look at our post-race results here. So here are our post-race results for our feature event tonight. Beaver taking home the win. Squilliam in second place. Lieutenant Dan taking home third. Eat My Dust in fourth place. And Bob Wallace in fifth place, rounding out our top 5 here tonight. And let's go ahead and get started. Let's see if we can get started here with our post-race interviews. If we so possibly can. The first driver that we're going to attempt to get up here is going to be Bar South 22. So, first driver that we have up here coming home with the win for the sprint race here today. Bar South, welcome to the booth. Congratulations on your win for today's sprint race, or for the start of today's event. Quite an event that we had here. The first race that I get to broadcast for you guys, and the first race that I get to see not only at Donington Park, but as well as with the Radical SR8 in a broadcast setting. So great day overall up here in the booth. But how was it down there behind the wheel of the number 75? How were things for you here today?
Oh, things were great. I mean, that first race, I kind of just kept crawling and just kept working. It was just a war of attrition. Just kind of stayed on track, and it just kind of worked out in front of me. So that was fun. The second race sucked, but all in all, smiles all around. Good Wednesday night. Thanks for asking. I forgot we were doing this broadcast. You scared the hell out of me.
Well, I do apologize, but yes, we are indeed doing the broadcast. We are live, and yeah,
awesome.
It's great to have you up here. It was a great, phenomenal race from not only yourself, but from everyone here in the league. It was a really, truly great performance here. But what's kind of your expectations here to do this season? I know this is the 5th season of the J2ICS Sprint Series, so it's really a great thing to see. But what do you hope to accomplish this season? And after having a win to put under your name here for today's race, what's kind of your expectations going into the future here?
So this is my second season with J2I and doing sprint and endurance, and this is my first win. So looking forward to more of those, especially in the sprint. I think I got with 2 shots each week or each entry in the series on that. I think I got a good shot with that. So hoping to see some more of those and some better consistent racing and get our team up in the points a little bit. So I think that's a good start for the season.
Absolutely, yeah. It's definitely going to be a very good start for the points for you guys right out of the gate, and hopefully going into next race. I already forgot which race we were heading into next week. I think it's
Monza for endurance.
I knew I read it earlier, and then I already forgot, but
I had the same question earlier to one of the other guys.
Well, before I let you go here, Bar, and celebrate with not only your team, fellow drivers, and all that, but anyone watching the broadcast, maybe, or anyone at home or in the pit crew that you want to shout out and thank before you go here?
Just want to shout out everybody out there. Thanks for getting to see my first win. Appreciate the support, and shout out Brando for Scuderia DNF. We're about to have a great season, and shout out yourself, man.
Thank you very much. It was great to have you up here, and I hope to get to talk to you again next week at Monza. Hopefully we get to see similar success for you, not only yourself, but for your team as well.
Yeah, thanks, man. Fingers crossed. I'll see you there.
Absolutely. Have a great one.
You too. Thanks, man.
Alrighty, folks. So that was Bar South 75 out of the booth here, taking home Bar South 22. Excuse me. Out of the booth here, taking home the win for the sprint race, the 20 laps, 20-minute race that we had at the beginning of the broadcast. Up next in the booth is the man of the hour, Beaver, coming home with the win here tonight for our feature event. Beaver, welcome to the booth. Congratulations on a phenomenal win, and I gotta say, a very impressive win at that, with how chaotic this whole day has been here for everyone involved, and for yourself and for Squilliam as well. I'm gonna have a conversation with him after we're done talking, but you two seem to have quite the bout for that first place spot for quite some time, and able to pull away nearly a 4.5 or nearly a 5-second gap between yourself and second place. I mean, at what point did it just kind of start clicking for you here tonight, or were you already sort of dialed in before we even started here tonight?
You know, I'm not sure it ever actually clicked. I think towards the end there, when he and I ran side by side, and then I started pulling a gap, I think I just hit lap traffic the right way. I think all night long he had the pace. I thought maybe after practice and qualifying that I'd be in good shape, but he really shows that in a race setting. He's got a lot of pace, and then Dan as well. They were both so quick, and they kept me on my toes the whole time. I never, not for a second, thought that I was comfortable. You know, maybe the last 2 laps, but otherwise they were so fast. And yeah, good job to those guys. It was a lot of fun racing with them. I hope I didn't run anyone the wrong way, but lots of fun.
Absolutely. Well, you had a great performance here, and I gotta say it was really impressive to watch you here tonight, and I'm excited to get to hopefully see you next week at Monza. What do you plan to run next week, and what do you hope to accomplish next week at Monza for not only yourself but for your team?
Yeah, I'm good. I'll be running the LMDH. The first 2 pre-race or preseason races we had, I was fortunate enough to get the victory in those. So I'm hoping to carry that forward, although Monza is by far my least favorite track. I have no expectations for that. So, as long as I finish and get through the night, I think I'll be happy, but Monza is terrible.
Well, I look forward to seeing you at Monza next week, and hopefully, despite the little bit of distaste towards the track itself, that we get to see success for yourself and for your team, and secure some more points going into the rest of the season.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Looking forward to the rest of the season, not so much next week.
Well, Beaver, on that note, and before I let you go and celebrate with your teams, crack open a well-deserved cold one. Anyone you want to shout out, anyone watching the broadcast at home, anyone in the pit crew, the floor is yours.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Mason, for hopping on board. I've been part of J2I for 4 seasons now, and I think this will be the neatest broadcast we have. So thank you for joining us. Also, random shout out to Antonio Bianchi and Raymond Aguilar. I've run with them in the past, and I see them in the chat. And whether he's being sarcastic or not, hello to both of them anyway. Yeah, it's cool to see support like that.
Absolutely. It's always great to have the fans coming in and supporting drivers, supporting the league, and so on and so forth. It's great to just have all the support in general. But Beaver, I want to thank you for joining me up here in the booth tonight. It was great to see you racing tonight, and I look forward to seeing you next week, and hopefully get to talk to you again next week in a similar capacity.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, bud. You have a good one.
You too. See ya.
Alrighty, folks, so that was Beaver out of the booth here, taking home the win tonight. And I was going to have a word here with Squilliam, but it does appear that Squilliam has retired for the night and is going to be taking it behind the pit wall and hiding from the broadcaster. But that's A-okay. That is all as well. So, folks, on that note, I want to thank every single one of you who have tuned in tonight and enjoyed the action. If you did enjoy what you saw, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Catch more of the action here on Team Goon Squad as we have it nearly 7 days a week. Thank you all for tuning in. Again, my name is Mason Heimbaugh, bringing you tonight's action, and I will see you all next week, same time, same exact place, as we tune in for Virtual Monza for the very first Grand Prix the J2ICS Season 5. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Oh, Pearson gets it in the 95 of Folks. Here comes the caution.
Flag is dropped here at Daytona, and away Joe for the first time. Nicholas Morcel, Sean.
Most get through unscathed. Look at that, there's Reed Gibson. A big move at the inside line of Dom's, possibly a little bit of contact.
Now, as we've got 3 wide action going through turns 1 and 2.
And they're underway. Eric Hahn takes a nice jump. Wilson hasn't let it go very far.
Nice to go out here for Circuit Spa Francorchamps. Alex Johnson's off to a brilliant start there.
Just how oddly shaped this one is. We saw in the background Eric Hahn go for a bit of a swing, and he's gone and he's over.
New stuff. Cody Graham's the 1-on-1 up into second place. Alex Johnson 6/10 to lead at the moment.
They're dicey up front. There's Andrew Kessel, Justin Sang.
They are ready to go. The lights are out, and away we go for the very first time here at Okayama International Circuit. Finley Fitzsimmons.